For the longest time, I was under the impression that Apple made the best tablets. I mean, how can you not? Every news article, every YouTube video, every tweet always points to Apple being the king of tablets. And you know what? I didn't even bother to question these thoughts and opinions because quite frankly, I am an M1 iPad Pro user and I love using this tablet. But after switching from an M1 iPad Pro to the dark side and having experienced the best of the best that Samsung has to offer in the tablet sector, my opinion has drastically shifted. My name is RJ and we need to talk about the Tab S8 Ultra because Samsung has just entered the chat. Upon my initial unboxing, I was immediately in awe of this tablet. Just take a look at this thing. This is a 14.6-inch tablet with much thinner bezels than what's found on the M1 iPad Pro. Side by side next to the iPad Pro, it looks like a behemoth of a tablet. I'll be sure to make an in-depth comparison between the Tab S8 Ultra and the M1 iPad Pro in a few days, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel for that. It should be a very juicy and very controversial video by nature. It's kind of wild to me that Samsung is capable of making a tablet that's this big yet so thin and durable. These bezels are just 6.3 millimeters thin, giving the display a 90% screen to body ratio. That translates to only 10% of this tablet being bezel. You quite literally feel like you're holding nothing but a gigantic screen in your hands. Just amazing engineering on Samsung's part. And I wouldn't expect anything less from the king of displays. Taking a look at the actual display, this is a 120Hz 2960 by 1848 panel with a 240 ppi. Now, it's not the sharpest screen in the world and you do notice that at close proximity. When you're holding the Tab S8 Ultra at an arm's length, the display looks terrific. Now the brightness could be a tad bit higher. The Tab S8 Ultra goes up to a max peak brightness of 380 nits. In comparison, the M1 iPad Pro can go all the way up to 1000 nits. For a lot of my indoor use, this display has been more than good enough. But I have already used this many times in my car to get some work done, and the visibility has been an issue, especially in direct sunlight. The elephant in the room is obviously this notch. I got absolutely bombarded with questions on Twitter regarding the notch. To be quite honest with you, it really doesn't bother me in the least bit. It's such a small notch and it does house two cameras, one 12 megapixel regular lens and one 12 megapixel ultra wide. We'll touch base a bit more on the cameras in a little bit. This is essentially a 15-inch display, so anything that has to do with media consumption is such an immersive experience. I can spend hours just consuming content on this thing. I watched an entire season of Top Boy on this tablet and it was such a mesmerizing experience. Top Boy is one of the best shows I've ever watched on Netflix, bruv. If you haven't watched it, you might want to get on it. It is such a good show. It's not just the fact that the Tab S8 Ultra has a massive display. It's the combination of this display plus these incredible quad stereo speakers. They do support Dolby Atmos and the volume levels can really fill up a room. I'm telling you, the whole experience of consuming media on this tablet is such a mesmerizing experience. It will totally captivate you. Biometrics wise, we have an optical fingerprint scanner embedded within the right hand side of the display. It's a quick, snappy and responsive fingerprint scanner and I haven't had any issues with it thus far. It feels like everything about the Tab S8 Ultra is thought out so meticulously. Like the placement of the fingerprint scanner just makes a whole lot of sense. The placement of the cameras makes a whole lot of sense. Unlike some other tablet that I know. And even the magnetic attachment of the S Pen being off to the top right rather than being in the center makes a whole lot of sense to me. Now this is a tablet that can transform into a fully fledged Chromebook thanks to Samsung's DeX. For an extra $350 you get a tablet cover and an attachable magnetic keyboard. As soon as you magnetically attach the Tab S8 Ultra to the keyboard, Samsung DeX kicks in and transforms your entire OS experience. In DeX mode you can multitask, open multiple windows, rearrange the windows however you like, and it does truly feel like you're honing in on the processing power of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset found inside of this tablet. The Tab S8 cover is another well thought out Samsung accessory. When using this tablet on a table, it's quite sturdy with some good grip. There's also an S Pen indent on the back of the cover to both house and charge your S Pen. One thing that I did notice is unlike an iPad, the Tab S8 Ultra is extremely top heavy. So no matter what angle you try to place it on your lap, it's going to keep falling over, especially when it is attached to the keyboard. For myself, this is actually a hindrance because I do all of my work sitting down on a couch with an iPad on my lap. So using the Tab S8 Ultra on a table or some sort of a surface is something that I have to get accustomed to. However, in my short time with the Tab S8 Ultra, not everything has been smooth sailing. Now, it's important to understand that the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset powering the Tab S8 Ultra is underclocked. When you compare the benchmark scores found on the Tab S8 Ultra to that of a phone, this is definitely an underperformer. But it's important to understand that this was done intentionally by Samsung to account for overheating. Given this tablet's unique thinness, something had to give to account for the thermals. Even then, I have been experiencing some pretty bad overheating. Twice already while I was using Google Google Docs to type up a report, I've gotten notifications letting me know that the tablet is running too hot and I need to stop working on it immediately. This could though just be an anomaly. I'm sure you've probably heard, but there is a major heat wave hitting parts of the world like Canada and the UK. So for the past 4 days, it has been ridiculously hot. So during this major heat wave, I have been using my Tab S8 Ultra in my home with no AC on. So this could have something to do with it. It's still too early to be sure, but I'll keep you guys posted in my full review, so make sure you do subscribe. Another issue I have been noticing is that there is some input lag when I'm using the keyboard. So when the tablet is in DeX mode and it is attached to a keyboard, I'm noticing that there is a delay in between when I press a key on the keyboard and when it actually gets picked up on the display. I haven't heard of anybody else going through this, so it could just be me having a faulty keyboard. So I am going to return this keyboard and I'll report back to you guys with another keyboard in my next video. I did get to play Call of Duty Mobile on this beast of a tablet, and man, connecting a PS5 controller and gaming on this thing on the go is so much fun. 120Hz for a mobile Call of Duty game on the highest of graphics with no lag or frame freezes is something that every gamer has to experience at least once. Strangely enough, while I was gaming on the Tab S8 Ultra, I didn't experience any overheating. Although to be fair, it did run fairly hot. Something to definitely keep an eye on. Battery life on this thing is surprisingly very good. I didn't expect a tablet of this size to get such good battery life, but somehow Samsung made it work. This tablet's got an 11,000 mAh battery, so it's massive. But you do have to keep in mind it's powering a 14.6-inch panel. Yet somehow I can easily get around 9 hours of screen on time on the Tab S8 Ultra with around 17% remaining. What does my usage entail, you ask? Well, it's a bit of gaming, a lot of content consumption, some script writing, some emailing, and some chatting with friends on WhatsApp and Telegram. And recently I have been learning a little bit of Korean before I do move to Korea, so I've been using the S Pen to learn Hangul. Now granted, I've only had this for about 6 days. I do expect the battery life to get a lot better once the OS learns my user habits. Another pleasant surprise about the battery that I've noticed is the Tab S8 Ultra has better standby times than what's found on my M1 iPad Pro. In over 3 days, I've yet to charge this device. And day after day, every time I unlock it to use, I only lose about 1% of my overall battery health. Truly impressive stuff from Samsung. Speaking of the S Pen, unlike on an iPad, the S Pen is actually included with the Tab S8 Ultra, which is always a nice touch. It's still too early for me to compare alongside the Apple Pencil, but I've been really digging all of the useful features, and it does feel like I'm writing on real paper using this display. There's a 2.8 millisecond response time between the pen and the display, so the latency is not noticeable at all. And the palm rejection, despite the thin bezels, has been terrific. The S Pen can be magnetically attached to the top right of the Tab S8 Ultra, but it doesn't charge over there. This tablet is equipped with 2 cameras, and they're found right in the dead center within the notch. When you hold the tablet in a horizontal orientation, this makes so much sense. On an iPad, the cameras are found off to the left when the iPad is in landscape orientation, which does make Zoom work calls all the more awkward than they already are. With the Tab S8 Ultra, you can look directly at the display and maintain eye contact with the person that you're talking to on the other end. The cameras are actually quite good. They can record in 4K and they do come equipped with auto framing. This is being shot on the front-facing camera of the Tab S8 Ultra in 4K. This is the ultra-wide-angle camera and the regular wide camera. And this camera does have auto framing, so it does keep me in frame. Pretty impressive stuff from Samsung. At the end of the day, this is an Android tablet, meaning that apps aren't all that well optimized for a tablet of this size. Take a look at TikTok here. It's stretched all the way to the ends and there's so much noise introduced into these videos. To be fair, Google did say an updated TikTok app for tablets is coming soon, so we will wait patiently for the updates before we do judge. I strongly do believe Google will deliver on app optimization for tablets, and this means that the Tab S8 Ultra will only get better from here on out. If you were to get an Android tablet, this may be the way to go. And I say may because I've only had this for about 6 days now. It's still too early for me to give you guys a conclusive answer. But no matter which way you spin it, this is a 1.6 pound media machine with a desktop media interface inside thanks to DeX. My full review on the Tab S8 Ultra is coming. I'll be sure to keep an eye out on the overheating issues and my keyboard input lag issues. I'll also be doing an in-depth comparison alongside the M1 iPad Pro, so make sure you guys are subscribed and drop a like on this video if you did find it informative. That would help me out a ton. As always, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to flex with your Tab S8 Ultra tech.